Is Demon's Souls the worst FromSoftware game? The answer is yes. I know how that sounds, so let me clarify before the comments fill up. I'm not saying it's a bad video game, it's just the worst Souls game. And I'm saying that as someone who has finished every other title in this series and even earned the platinum trophies for Sekiro and Dark Souls 1. What this means is that I'm not new to this and I'm not struggling with the mechanics, but recently I dropped the Demon's Souls remake for the second time, right at the end of the stream, and I think it's time to talk about why this game just doesn't hold up compared to the rest of the series. To be clear, my issues aren't with the typical Souls complaints. Take the world tendency system for example. For those who haven't played, this is a mechanic where the world literally shifts based on your actions. If you kill a boss and help people, it shifts toward white, making enemies easier but reducing your loot. If you die in body form or kill NPCs, it shifts toward black, making the game much harder and spawning dangerous black phantom enemies. A lot of people find the system confusing or frustrating, but it doesn't really bother me at all. I'm an experienced player, so I know how to deal with the shifts, and I actually appreciate how experimental and unique it is. It gives the world a sense of consequence that the later games lack. So no, world tendency isn't the problem. Neither is the lack of checkpoints. Those quirks give the game its own identity and I respect it for being the first. The real problem starts with the progression. Because the game is split into 5 distinct paths, the flow feels quite slow. The item economy makes it worse, specifically the healing. It's worth comparing this to Bloodborne, which also uses a consumable healing system. In Bloodborne, having to manage your vials isn't nearly as frustrating because they're relatively cheap to buy. Additionally, they heal a fixed percentage of your health, so they are always effective. In Demon's Souls, however, healing grass is a rarity anywhere except World 1. You're constantly juggling different tiers of grass that often feel underpowered or even overpriced. If you're trying to progress in a different world and you run out, you're forced to stop what you're doing and go farm basic consumables in World 1-1. It's a chore that feels kind of like a step backward. The soul scaling feels off too. You can put in a massive amount of effort to clear out enemies in, for example, World 2, but the soul reward you get for it is almost insulting. For example, the most common enemy in World 2 only gives you like 6 to 10 souls, so it doesn't even really feel worth it to kill them. The biggest issue though is the balance between the levels and the bosses. In most Souls games, the draw is learning a difficult boss fight, dying, adapting and eventually winning. In Demon's Souls, the balance is kind of flipped. The levels are the actual challenge, often taking an hour or two to clear, while the bosses are almost all gimmicks that you beat in a few tries. Take the Tower Knight as an example. The fight is just a loop. Run up the stairs, kill the archers, hit his heels until he falls over and then hit his head. It's a puzzle you solve once rather than a battle you master. Then you have the Armor Spider. Once you realize you just need to bait certain attacks or use the environment to your advantage, the fight becomes trivial. I beat it on my second attempt. Compare that to something like the Rykard fight in Elden Ring. Even though Rykard is technically a gimmick fight too, with the Serpent Hunter Spear, it still feels like a dangerous high-stakes battle where you have to engage with the boss's moveset. In Demon's Souls, once you know the trick, the threat is basically gone. Because the bosses are so gimmicky, the difficulty ends up being artificial. It's all in the run back. Like I said, I beat the Armor Spider on my second attempt. The fight itself wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the tedious track back through the tunnels and elevators every time I died. Or the only time I died. The same goes for the Tower Knight. Having to run through that entire bridge section with the dragon and the knights just to get another shot at a 5-minute boss fight isn't fun, it's just exhausting. We see this in other games too. The Blue Smelter Demon in Dark Souls 2 has one of the most hated runbacks in the entire franchise because it's frustrating and boring. Yet for some reason people give Demon's Souls a pass when the entire game is designed that way. Defeating a boss should feel like a massive achievement. But in Demon's Souls, it often just feels like a relief that you don't have to deal with that specific level's runback anymore. The level was the actual challenge, not the boss at the end of it. Ultimately, Demon's Souls just feels inferior to everything FromSoftware made afterward. It has great ideas and beautiful graphics in the remake, but the loop of gimmick bosses and tedious runbacks just isn't what I look for in these games. Maybe it's because I played the newer titles first and I can see how much they improved the formula, but the spark just isn't there for me right now. I'm not saying I'll never finish it, but for now I'm moving on to do other things. Let me know if you agree or if you think I'm totally wrong. I'm usually live on Twitch, streaming Souls runs and Pokemon, so come hang out there if you want to talk about it more. Thanks for watching.